Down with tax consultant and lawyer Francis Timoboy on the VAT reforms that are ongoing. All that you need to know is what you get in this conversation. Enjoy.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show.
What do all these changes mean for SMEs, entrepreneurs, importers, and most importantly, even you as the ordinary consumer? Will these reforms really ease the tax burden we talk about and promote fairness in the system? That's what we are looking at on the Citi Business Edition right here on 97.3 Citi FM this morning. My guest is a tax consultant, he's a researcher, and above all, a lawyer who joins us. Francis Timoboy is my guest this morning on the Citi Business Edition. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure having you, Francis.
Thank you, Nee. It's good to be here.
Indeed. You know, when the finance minister presented the 2026 budget somewhere in November last year, he was really big on VAT reforms, and today here we are. It's already taking off. Some businesses have also, made some changes as far as the computation of, the VAT system is concerned. Today, I just want you to educate us, really. When the government says we are reforming our tax architecture, we are revising the whole calculation and computation, really, I look at the circular the Ghana Revenue Authority, for example, put out. I see 5 things: the threshold, the decoupling, the flat VAT, as well as the removal of the COVID-19. Really, what is the government doing? What problem is the government solving?
So, first of all, I think it's important you raised this issue because VAT is a consumption tax, and anything consumption affects our daily lives. So the goods we buy, the services we consume, unless it is specifically exempted under the law, you one way or the other pay taxes on it, which means that the price that you are going to pay is going to be higher and is going to hit your pocket. For those who visit the restaurants, you realize that sometimes the taxes can even buy extra food. So it is important that when government is talking about this thing, we all show some interest. And again, reforms are normal. Once a while, you have to consolidate and then try to catch up with new trends, technology, and the way the world is moving. So here again, we are in 2013, which is about 12 years ago. We did one of the reforms. We consolidated our laws. And in between 2013 and 2025, the government did a number of amendments, including the 2018 decoupling that was done. So 2025 government says that we want to reform the VAT system again. Certain things that are not working properly, let's do away with them. So that is where we are now. But like you said, a couple of things are coming up which appears to be unique. One of them is the threshold. In the past, government has been collecting the taxes. Government, this is a consumption tax, but then government appoint businesses. We call them registered persons. Mostly they are businesses.
So when you say consumption tax, it means that you pay because you are consuming.
You pay because you are consuming, unless you don't buy. And it is one of the biggest tax type with the largest base. You see, for income tax, some people may not be working, so they will not pay income tax. For example, if you're a pensioner, you are an old person, so you don't pay income tax. But for consumption taxes, the more you consume, the more you pay, unless the item you are consuming has been listed on a long list of items we call the exemption list. If it is not there, it means that you have to pay. Excuse me, say even if you go to the barber and the barber is dressing your hair and it is not listed an exempt item, then whatever you pay, you have to pay, including the tax. So that's why we call it consumption tax. And one thing that is very interesting about consumption tax is that if you're a developing country, young people are buying, people are consuming, building, buying cars. So the expectation is that consumption tax works very well in a developing country because people are you are now developing. So consumption
and people are also consuming.
People are consuming. So the expectation is that consumption tax should increase. And we are. It's unfortunate that in our part of the country or in our part of the world, consumption tax in Ghana, because of the structure, was not increasing the way it's supposed to be, and I believe that is informed one of the main concerns that government is
I see, but from what you initially mentioned, I get to hear that the last time we made some reforms to our VAT system was 12 years ago. Is that correct?
That was 2013, 12 years ago. So under that system, we consolidated all the laws. You know, the first law was introduced in 1998. That was the first time we had a formal VAT system. We had tried it in 1994-95. It didn't work, which led to the Kumi Prekon demonstration. So they recoiled and then came back fully in 1998. So between 98 and to 2013, we did consolidation and reformed it, and then the next one is what we are having.
So how different was that from what we currently have?
You mean the 1998 one?
No, the
2013 one.
The 2013 one.
So
maybe 1998 will be too long a time, or maybe you can give us the history.
No, I mean VAT. You know, before we were operating the sales tax system. The sales tax system is a single stage tax. So if you're a manufacturer, we asked you to add some tax on it so that the consumer will buy. So it was at one point, just like excise duty or communication service tax. Then we said that sales tax is not too good, so let's change it to a value added tax. So we charge you based on the value addition, the value added the value that you add to the goods or service that you are providing.
The same as ad valorem, as some people say, or that's different?
Ad valorem is a different base of calculating the tax, but the VAT, as in, is a whole it's a tax type which is based on consumption. But the difference is that because it's a value added, if you are not the final consumer, you don't pay it. You get a refund for the VAT that you have paid on your raw material. So that is what we call the input-output mechanism.
All right.
So in 1998 we introduced it, and then it ran to 2013. There was a lot of amendments. One important thing is that what we call the exempt list, we keep updating it. Sometimes we'll come and say, this is an essential item, let's not charge VAT on it. For example, educational services. We all agree that educational services is something critical. Financial services, get to a point we get confused. Okay, should we charge VAT on financial services or we shouldn't charge? So we debate, then we go back to amend the exempt list. So these changes, it gets to a point where you need to pause, consolidate and revise and put everything into one law. So we did one in 2013, and then as we speak, we are doing the new one has taken place.
Thank you so much, Francis, for this particular background that you've given us. I don't know which of the classes you've taken us back to. So
I was talking about the threshold in the new under the new.
So
one.
The threshold for VAT registration for businesses who deal in goods has been increased from 200,000 Ghana cedis to 750,000 Ghana cedis.
Correct.
What does this mean?
So it means a lot. First of all, it means that if you are a service provider today, excuse me, say if you're a shoe shine person and you provide services to people, you are supposed to charge irrespective of how much you make. But let's talk about the reasons or the idea behind threshold.
Very important.
Threshold is not new in Ghana. In 1998, when we introduced the law, we had a threshold. The threshold we had was 20,000 Ghana cedis, then 200 million. And the cedi equivalent was around 86,000. The dollar equivalent was around 86,000. In 2001, we changed it to 10,000. 2010, we amended the threshold to 90,000. 2013, we took it to 120,000. Then 2015, we peg it at 200,000. Now, the reason why we introduced threshold is that, you see, VAT, you appoint people to collect the taxes. And because it's a value added, you don't want to bring small, micro entities, excuse me, people who are selling matches to cities. Then you ask them to charge VAT. Because of the compliance and filing and, the obligation on you, you collect the tax on behalf of government. Then you go and give it to government. So you try to separate those minor and micro entities out so that you can focus on, real business entities and I'm trying to say people who are doing value addition. So we use threshold, your annual turnover, to determine, okay, you are a bigger entity and therefore charge VAT for government and account. So we use the threshold to separate and, exempt those small entities so that we don't burden them with, the compliance mechanism.
But if that's the case, if you set a higher threshold, are you also not shrinking the VAT for you as a government?
Actually, there's a standard. You see, and again, today, you remember I mentioned that 2015 we had 200,000.
Yes.
200,000 in dollar term. Let me use a more stable currency. In dollar term was 53,000 in 2015. Today, even though you see it as increased to 750,000, if you convert it to dollar terms, it's around 62,000. So you see that we're almost around the same.
I get a point.
For me, and again, it's important you've raised it, because Guta was complaining that this threshold was going to create some segregation in the market. And I was saying that, look, we haven't moved drastically. You see the value, 2015, 200,000 is not 200,000 today. The value has gone down. So threshold has always been there. It's only in Ghana, and it is for administrative convenience. You don't want to add everybody into the registration net and say go and collect VAT. It will be too difficult to even administer. And again, you cannot even police them properly because they are collecting the tax on your behalf. They are more like agents. So you, the government or the GRA, sometimes you need to police and say, are you collecting the taxes I asked you to collect and pay? And indeed, we have instances where people collect and they don't account for it. So these are some of the reasons why thresholds are always introduced. But one concern that we have under the law, or let me say, I personally have, is the exclusion of the service providers.
I was coming to that. I was about asking why the government says for goods based. So if you are a service provider, what happens to you? Is there any specific explanation to that?
In fact, we haven't gotten any real explanation. If you compare this law to the 2013 one, 2013 goods and services, everybody
was included.
There's some equality there. Right now, what it means is that if you are a small entity and you are providing service, then you are supposed to register. There's no exemption. You are supposed to register. But what we have heard the GRA saying is that yes, they are supposed to register, but we will not automatically register everybody. We need to assess you. But that also creates some risk. Tomorrow, if I am there, I'm a service provider. Let's say I'm a small business consultant and GRA says you are supposed to register and you didn't register. What do I say? You understand? So people are saying that, well, maybe it could be an omission. So maybe the government will need to go back and see how they can bring that equality. But it's, for me as a person, it's a great concern because we need to apply the threshold. We don't need to bring small. If somebody provides service 10,000 cedis a year, you're asking the person to check how much is the VAT on this. So maybe government will need to go back and check and see whether they can, spread the threshold across everybody so that we can have the threshold applicable to everybody. And again, this threshold has some implication with the modified taxation that they've introduced. And we've heard in the quarters that they will do something about it.
So is it basically a relief to, businesses who now fall below the threshold?
It is a relief. But first of all, between 200 and 750,000, maybe you have already been registered because you made the threshold if you are a retailer of goods. So those people, it doesn't mean that you should automatically stop. What the GRA has come out to communicate is that you continue to charge, but you need to walk to the GRA office and tell them that, look, I don't meet this threshold. I'm already on the register. Remember when you register, they put you in the system, then you keep filing. So the system is expecting that you come and collect taxes and pay. So what the GRA is saying is that come to them, continue to charge, come to them until you have been deregistered. Then based on the information you provide to them, let's say your turnover, you say I don't meet the threshold anymore, I'm 300,000, so deregister me. If they deregister you, it means that to the businessman you can continue to maybe charge the same price, which is a profit to you, because before you were adding the taxes. Let's say 100, you add the taxes to it and it comes to 104, assuming you were a flat rate person, or even 120,000. Now you can decide to either reduce your prices, which of course you're going to attract more customers, or you can decide to maintain the prices. And when you maintain the prices, it's going to be more profit to you. So for me, it's a relief to businesses who are below the threshold. But if you're already registered, it is automatic. You need to take steps to go and deregister yourself, that on the basis that you don't meet the threshold, and therefore the GRA will stop you from charging the VAT, and whatever you collect comes to you as a profit. So it's a big relief for them. Just that it's now a burden for small businesses who provide services, and we hope that the GRA will come and clarify that point. But the way the law as it is now means that if you're a small business, maybe you have to walk to the GRA and say, my turnover is 100,000. Am I supposed to register? But one thing is that the registration threshold is just one yardstick to register.
What are
We
the
also
other
have-
yardsticks?
We have voluntary registration. So maybe you are a service provider and you think that you want to collect taxes. You can voluntarily register. Again, the Commissioner General can also compulsorily register you. So these are other ways that you can get yourself registered. But under the new law, threshold has provided some critical changes. Again, the flat rate has also been abolished.
Exactly.
The flat rate was introduced around May 2007, and it was based on the idea that people who deal in goods, they are unable to normally keep books because VAT depends largely on records keeping.
Yeah.
Remember, you are acting as an agent for government, so you are supposed to keep records before you can even get the input deduction. You are supposed to keep records and show proof that I bought so much for as my raw material before government can give you that refund. We had some category of people who were not able to keep the records, so government said, okay, let's do flat rate for you. And at that time, research had shown that the margin was around 3%. The difference between input and output was 3%. So we came out with 3%. So, okay, charge 3% on the goods that you sell. If you charge 3%, you are not entitled to input VAT. Then along the line, COVID-19 levy came around 2021. So if they sell, those who were under the flat rate, they charge 3% VAT and then 1% COVID-19. And that is what they were accounting to the government. What the GRA has done now under the new law is that has been abolished. But I must say that we're playing a little bit politics with that flat rate because it came somewhere 2015, we took it off, and then it came back again, and now we are told that under the new law it's completely abolished. So if you're a flat rate person, what the GRA is saying is that you cannot continue charging flat rate anymore. You need to stop charging, and instead start charging the standard rate of 20%, which is the 15% VAT, and then the two levies. Which
it's good. It's good you've mentioned that. So some people say that the effective VAT rate is 15%, but the standard rate is 20%.
Correct.
So how are you able to illustrate that to us? So for example, if I go and buy something right now, let's say I buy something worth 100 Ghana cedis. Hitherto, the 21.9% will take me to some 120
1 cities,
90 pesos. But this time around, we are seeing some 120 Ghana cedi. Just explain to us how will the computation going to be like going forward? It has started already, and so on my invoice, what should I be looking out for? Especially because I know COVID-19 levy is gone.
So in the past, one of the main reasons for this reform is the cascading effect.
Indeed.
To August 2018, somebody thought and said that, look, Get Fund, which was introduced in the year 2000, and then N-Hill, which was introduced in 2003.
So those two still 2.5, right?
2.5,
okay.
2.5. Someone said that if they are levies, then we shouldn't give it as a deductible input tax to businesses. So what happened then was that if you were selling under the old system, assuming you buy 100 cedis, you add 2.5 Get Fund, you add 2.5 N-Hill, and then you add 1% COVID-19. That alone gives you like 6 cedis. So you add it to the 100 cedis.
To make it 106.
106. Before you come and apply the VAT of 15%, that takes you to 121 cedis, 90%. That's why we said the effective rate was 21.9%. Because the actual price of the goods is 100 cedis. Why did I get to 121.9 cedis? What has been done now?
The 21 cedi, 90% can actually buy another food, like you mentioned.
Can buy another food. So what has been done now is that this separation that was done, the separation of the levies from the VAT base that was done in August 2018 has been restored. So what is happening now is that if you take the same price of 100 cedis, you apply the Get Fund of 2.5 on the 100, you apply the N-Hill on the 100, so 2.5. That will give you 105. But instead of the VAT being applied on the 105, we still apply it on the 100
cedis.
So you see now there's no tax on tax.
So that's the elimination of the cascading effect.
So this time there's no tax on tax anymore. So you add everything and you see that you come and get 120. So in the nutshell, government has given back 1 cedi 90 pesos. And again, the COVID-19 has also gone. So there's some savings of 1 cedi 90 pesos there. But what we've realized is that if you go to some of the restaurants and other places, because the impact is very small, the food price still remains the same.
The same.
So we're asking, why hasn't the price dropped? But we believe that over time,
things will change.
Things will change. And again, one important thing is that under the old system, this 6% was not claimable from government. So it formed part of their production cost. In other words, if you go and buy, assuming that you go and buy your raw materials, because you couldn't claim that one from government, you have to add it as part of your production cost. So your production cost goes up. Of course, if your production cost goes up, you need to reprice in order for you to stay in business. What is happening now is that COVID-19 is gone. So you only have the 5%, the 2.5. The good thing is that businesses can now go and claim this 2.5, which is the 5 cedis, from government.
Wow.
So what it means is that you are not supposed to add it to your production cost. And this is where we're expecting that prices should drop. Because you are going to claim it from government. Before, you were adding it to the cost before charging it to me. Now you need to set it aside because you're going to claim it. So at the end of the day, production cost is expected to drop, which is a huge benefit to the business community.
So it's a two-way affair. Businesses are benefiting.
Correct.
Consumers are also benefiting.
Consumers are supposed to benefit because if production cost goes down, you're supposed to also reduce their price. That it will come to me. So if before I was buying one bowl and my money now things should go down for me to buy more. So that is the expectation. But again, we'll leave it for the Ghanaian business to also determine.
Indeed.
Whether they will reduce their price.
You are still listening to the Citi Business Edition here on 97.3 Citi FM. With me, Neil Latte. My guest is Francis Timobo. He is a tax consultant and also the executive director of the Africa Center for Tax Policy Research. Am I correct?
Right.
We are trying to make sense of the new VAT reforms that have already taken effect. Businesses are benefiting, consumers are also expected to benefit. And so we've spoken about the flat rate that has been eliminated, the decoupling of the NHIL as well as the Get Fund levy, the removal of the COVID-19 levy as well as the threshold. But Francis, let's talk about the broader impact on, the government. That's the fiscal. We expect the government to also meet its, revenue targets for the year. How is the government going to balance the two? Especially because I see the government banking its hopes on, voluntary compliance. Education, we've said time without number, is the key to, ensuring that we bring in a lot more people into the tax brackets. I mean, you have been doing this work for God knows how long, and you are the expert. So tell me, we know that some of these things are expected to, bring in more money into the government coffers. How is the government going to stem the tide? And how should businesses also help government achieve its revenue target? And if you're a business and you do not know how to go about all of these things, what options are available for you?
So first of all,
it's a packed one.
Yes. So first of all, from the government side, yes, we are aware that government has thrown out some money. COVID-19 alone was giving us a lot of money, in excess of 3.5 billion cedis, and it's been eliminated. The decoupling too, before, because government was not refunding to the business community, government was collecting the money. All of these things have been restructured and it's going back. The minister says that 2026 alone, this reform put together is around 6 billion cedis, which is going back to the community. That's a huge money loss to the government. However, the mitigating factor here is that government is banking its hope on, compliance, enhanced compliance, and VAT works on compliance. Okay, so a number of digital tools are being deployed. We know of the EVAT system, and now that the threshold has also been increased, what it means is that GRA can now focus and properly police the system. Remember, you are just an agent and you are collecting the taxes. So policing is supposed to, beef the compliance that is expected to widen the base. So now that there's no more cascading effect, honestly, if you ask me, about 80 to 90% of this is dependent on compliance. If compliance fails, then we are all in a very deep hole because by that time we might have, already scrapped these taxes. We've seen the GRA embarking on other measures. For example, they are now, digital systems are also, or digital online, or what we call the e-commerce.
Yeah,
it's a major item which is ongoing. Many people sell online, especially for non-residents. We are aware that GRA is also trying to roll out some policy measures where people who sell online, whether through services, online platforms, GRA is trying to see how they can also capture them into the tax net. So all these tools, together with the digital environment and the digital innovation that they are putting in place, it's expected that it will mitigate the loss that the government is losing on this particular reform.
Very well. So, but I want you to also use this opportunity to educate us on two quick things. For example, I keep hearing unified tax system. What does it entail?
First of all, let's talk about the unified. Before we had too many VAT segregations. The real estate people were charging 5%. The flat rate people were there. And then we also had the standard rate. Why can't we put all of these things together and then everybody pays the same tax? Those who are not supposed to be in that tax net, let's take them out by increasing the threshold. So that has been done. So right now, it brings these multiple taxes away. Again, the cascading effect, the multiple taxes where you have to add some tax on another before you calculate. All of these things are gone. Now we have a straight standard rate.
So can we say what we are experiencing now is a unified tax system?
I think that it's uniform. There's more uniformity in our VAT system. If you qualify to be registered, you are coming to charge one tax rate, which everybody will charge. If you don't qualify, don't come near the tax rate, then we move. That is better. Again, it makes the calculation even more simpler. I don't need to, do I need to add this in before? Just go straight away. The reason why I believe we are still maintaining Get Fund and NHIL is that these are earmark funds. Yeah. We know Get Fund goes into education support, and then the NHIL, we have all accepted that these are critical national funds that we need. So that for me, it's a single administrative filing, payment, and everything in one unit. We hope that over time another government will not come and restructure them again for us to go back again.
Okay, so Francis, I'm sure somebody joined the conversation somewhere in the middle and we are ending. We've been talking about the VAT reforms, the changes, the removal of some of the levies and what have you. But really, what impacts does it leave on the ordinary businessman or woman and the ordinary consumer? What should we see changing in terms of how this is applied, how we benefit, and how we even pay?
Great. So, first of all, reforms are normal. They occur once a while. It's been 12 years when we started implementing our law, so we are now reforming the new law. The major change is that COVID-19 has been eliminated. It's been deleted. So if you, as a consumer, if you go to the shop, please check your receipt. If they are still charging COVID-19, ask them that on what authority are they charging COVID-19. Maybe they will explain to you that they've not changed their system. Please insist if they can refund that money to you. That is the first one as a consumer. Number two is that for businesses, it's a big relief because from 1st January, 5% of all your purchases is going to be available as input. So already what we call OPEX, operating expenses, is going to be reduced by 5% on all your purchases. Reason being that government is going to refund that one to you through the input-output mechanism. Number three, we expect prices to go down with these reforms. And if prices are not going down, please, we plead the business community, please consider your price structure because the reform is supposed to benefit yourself and also businesses as well. To government, we expect that full compliance should take place. Otherwise, these reforms, even though we expect it to widen the base, if compliance do not take place, and that will also depend on how we roll it out. How quickly can we deploy the digital services, the electronic fiscal devices? How quickly can we roll it out? if we're able to roll it out perfectly, trust me, I believe that in the medium to long term, Ghana's VAT is going to take a very good shape. Currently, if you take about 35 countries, I think Togo is doing better in terms of VAT compliance than us, because they are doing about 42% of their VAT revenue to total revenue. And Ghana, I think the last time I checked was around 18 to 20%. And since we are consuming, developing economy, consumption tax is supposed to go up. So the reform is good. The implementation is usually the challenge. To what extent can we implement it for the benefit of our country, Ghana? So we hope that over time, all the innovations that the GRA has promised they will roll out, especially the digital side, will come and help, and then things will move properly and will raise revenue for Ghana for the development that we are all seeking.
Very succinct, and I don't know what else to ask you, Francis. But I think at the center of this conversation is the revenue mobilization arm of the government. That's the Ghana Revenue Authority, and we know that ever since the Commissioner General was appointed, he's been embarking on a number of initiatives, trying as much as possible to broaden the base and ensure that we rake in more revenue as we desire as a country for the development that you talk about. So in terms of the role of the GRA, what form and shape should it be taking going forward if we want to consolidate some of the gains or all the gains in terms of our VAT regime?
So for me, I think GRA plays a very key, and in fact they are the center of this new reform. So a lot more is expected from them. We expect that GRA should embark on serious registration and deregistration of companies that are not supposed to be on the register. We should deregister them. And then there should be more education. Reforms like this you need a lot more education. The last time I was surprised to hear some questions from the public education that we did. A lot more people have questions on their mind. So GRA should be available. We expect more education to be done. And again, today we are deploying a lot of digital tools. So the certified invoicing should be prioritized. We need to enforce it. And we don't have booklets as we speak. The new law came up with new requirements. So VAT booklets and all those things, we will plead with the GRA to facilitate that one quickly so that businesses can get it to issue to customers. Again, we expect more monitoring and compliance. And above all, there should be a measured enforcement approach. We are in the transition period. And so first, let's focus on education first, enforcement second, especially in the early stages of the law. And above all, government revenue would increase and then become more sustainable. We need to take our VAT revenue contribution as it stands now, because the basic thing is that we are a developing country, we are consuming, and consumption taxes should fund most of the government's expenditure.
Indeed. You have been listening to the Citi Business Edition, where we have been examining the key VAT reforms, what is new for businesses, importers, and also consumers. So I decided to bring in Francis Timoboy to help us understand the country's new VAT reforms, what has changed, and what it means for you. And from what I gleaned from your insights, Francis, the reforms go beyond just the law, right? It's more of education and voluntary compliance,
Yes.
as you say. And it's just early days here, so we hope to see what really becomes of these reforms going forward. But thank you so much. Special thanks to you, Francis Timoboy, tax consultant, also with the Africa Center for Tax Policy Research. Many thanks indeed for your time. The Citi Breakfast Show continues. Bye for now.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show.